Welcome to WorldSimSeries and welcome to Club versus Cup, the penultimate round of the season. And we jump to Okayama. A few of the championships can be decided here tonight. In GT4 Pro Plus, Yanims sits on 100 points. If he wins tonight, well, he is untouchable. Only 5 of the best rounds are counted into the championship standings. So 4 already completed. If he wins one more, well, he'll get the maximum amount of points as well. He's followed by Mendeles and Talianos. Those two are definitely in a battle till the end. Spawn leads in the GT4 Pro Ams ahead of Nikanen and Dotert, as that battle is very much still on. In the MX5 Pro Ams, Barbakov leads Iordache and Tarchali, but Barbakov should be, if he's not won it yet, I think he might just be able to do it here tonight with a decent result. And in the MX5 Ams, it's Sendersky and Shire on equal points at the top of the standings. Then it's Kudyrka and Markaitis. All of those guys can still win it, but it's between Sendersky and Shire at the top of the standings. As our qualifying session runs to the till the end, I am joined by Lorinas.
Hello everyone and welcome to the penultimate round of the championship. As you already know, it's a 6-round championship, but only 5 best race results will count towards the overall standings of the drivers. And that means that today I think we will crown at least 2 champions already, if we don't have one already. But let's join the track. In the land of Japan, Okayama circuit qualifying session is about to end, and our GT4 Pro Plus class leader Yanims is on provisional pole. Talianos is only 1.5 tenths behind. Matas Mendeles half a second off the pace. Currently stands in third as Talianos shows very nice drift skills. That doesn't help to go faster though, and he returns to the pit lane. Yanim's qualifying session is done, so the Pro M GT4 class is led by Nikanen. Spawn is right on his tail, but Spawn is already back in the pit lane and he will not improve in this session. No one will improve in this session in the GT4M class except for maybe Nikanen. Did he improve? Nope, but he was very close. So MX5M class has been once again won by Sendersky. Romach is currently second, and for your reference, Sendersky is a MX5M driver, and he's usually one of the faster drivers in the qualifying session in the MX5 class, but he faces some issues during the races. Hope it's not going to be the case this afternoon, as I think we can go through the qualifying results, if we could get those on the screen.
It's once again Yanims at the top of the standings, ahead of Talianos. That gap pretty close though, 1.5 tenths. Then comes Mendeles, and he's much further down. Then it's Nikanen who takes pole position in the GT4 Pro Ams, ahead of Spawn, Dotertas and Lapo. And then come the MX5s. The MX5M driver of Sendersky takes pole position ahead of Ramach, who is on pole in the Pro Ams. And then it's Markaitis, Barbakov, Tarchani, Kudyrka, Shire, and Tromke in last position. So not a huge grid, but 15 cars out on track here tonight.
Yep, as the championship is going to an end, we usually see a lower participation of the drivers, especially as summer has kicked in very hard in some of the countries in Europe. So maybe a lot of the guys are simply enjoying their well-being outdoors or sitting somewhere in pool. But we have 15 drivers who show their stamina and will face-to-face shortly each other for the 45 minutes race. As usual, the MX-5s have basically one strategy. They need to make that pit stop to refuel the car to be able to reach the finish line. But the GT4s, they have the opportunity to have some different strategies. For example, some of the drivers can go all in and try to have the best pace, and other drivers can go at a slightly lower pace but save some fuel and avoid a pit stop. And I think this track might offer such a possibility here this afternoon. We just have to wait it out, and we should definitely enjoy seeing those different strategies if we will get some of those.
Yep, we've only seen that once this season. Let's see if it happens again. The penultimate round of Club versus Cup is underway, and Nims gets a good launch and keeps the lead, but it's Talianos and Mendelis down into turn 1. And Talianos looks to have held the position. It's hard to see, but it looks like he has, and Mendelis still in P3, followed by Son, Dotan, and Lapos, and there he has held on to the lead in the MX-5 AMS. That's not something he's been able to do in the previous round, so this time he might just be able to go and run away. He's been battling with the Pro AM cars most of this season. We'll see if he can keep it at the front of the field.
He just took a very different line to Ramach and all the other drivers going around the Atwood curve. Still holds the lead of the MX-5 class, as we see in the background Markaitis battling Barbukov, and Barbukov was just sent off the circuit. He was running third. He's now down into fourth in the MX-5 class. Still stays on the racetrack. Has a little bit of a damage on his car. I don't think it's gonna influence his pace anyhow during these coming 45 minutes. And he's right back again at Markaitis. So Markaitis made a small mistake, and this is a very interesting battle of the MX-5 cars. As Kudurka goes off the racetrack, plants 2 wheels on the grass, as we still have a side-by-side action on the racetrack between Markaitis and Barbukov, and Markaitis holding the better line to defend the position. It was the inside of the last corner, and he managed to keep it in front. Did Markaitis hit the wall, or it just looked like that? Tarchali is right on the tail of Barbukov, and yep, Markaitis holds on to that position. Very interesting angles of the camera, but look at the gap Sendersky has already pulled out as the drivers completed the first lap.
As the drivers complete the first lap, Barbukov, crucially for him, stays in second in the Pro-Am class of the MX-5s. Under pressure from Tarchali behind, but still second in the Pro-Ams, and that's what counts for the championship. Nims already almost a second in front in the GT4s. To the outside goes Kudirka on Tarchali, so Tarchali might be losing a position overall in MX-5. Doesn't change anything in terms of the championship for either of them. And Kudirka gets in front, gets past the, well, higher classed driver, but clearly has got the pace. So it's actually AM, Pro-Am, AM, Pro-Am, AM, Pro-Am, AM, Pro-Am, and there's contact. And now it's Shire getting in front, but I'm not sure that will be looked upon too favorably as he tries to battle Trumke to the outside. And Tarchali says, thank you very much. I'll take that position right back from you. And gets back in front. This is Barbukov. He's lost a little bit of time to Markaitis. Italianos on your screens, 1.1 seconds down from your race leader.
Not too bad, actually. He's quite close to Jan Nimtz here this afternoon. It's quite a tricky track. Has a couple of long straights. Maybe that slipstream helps a little bit to
There's
stay
about
closer.
a 20-kilo difference between these two as well.
Yeah, but during
so
the season,
for sure that helps.
It definitely helps. But well, having seen the pace of Jan Nimtz throughout the season, I don't think he feels anything heavier on his car, and he's always performing to the maximum. And one could only wonder what pace he would have if he would be at least 20 kilograms lighter here this afternoon. Still.
In terms of laps completed, well, we don't know how many laps they've completed offline, but in the pre-qualifying sessions, Talianos completed 40. Nim's completed 1. I'm guessing he completed a few more offline. I mean, he's quick, but I don't think he's get in first lap and go first quick. But maybe a few more laps done by Talianos, maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, losing another half second this last lap, so not great, not a perfect situation.
This is a battle between Dautartas and Nikkanen. Currently, Nikkanen is second in the overall standings. Dautartas is third. 14 points separate these drivers in the championship. Currently, Dautartas is looking at a higher amount of points than his rival. Maybe he will try to do his best and show fierce battles towards the end of this season. Spon, the leader of the GT4 M class, is currently in the lead of this race, enjoying almost 1 second of a gap against his rivals. But it looks to be a promising battle this evening between these 3 drivers and the class leaders. They are also involved in the strategy game situation. And by the way, this is
I wonder if Talianos has decided to save fuel. I mean, he's losing a lot of time, and compared to what he was doing in qualifying, much slower lap times from him. So kind of have an idea that maybe he might be saving fuel. If not, he is losing a lot of time. And that's another 3/10 lost.
Yep, so suddenly he became slower than Jan Nimtz, a little bit more slower than he was in the opening laps. Started to lose 3 tenths per lap. I didn't notice how much slower he was on the previous lap, but I think it was 6 tenths or so. Oh, Dautartas makes a small mistake. Right in front of Nikkanen. This is a nice little battle for second place in this race. And actually, I think it's a battle for second place in the championship. Well, finishing second and third, it doesn't give you a very high difference, different amount in points, but still. You want to finish in front of your rivals if you want to gain on him in the championship. So it's very important for Dautartas to finish this one in front of his main rival. And ideally, both of the drivers would love to finish in front of Daniel Spon, who is currently in the lead of the GT4 Pro M class. But it's not the scenario at this moment. As we continue around this circuit, which is how long is it? It's 3.7 kilometers long and 13
Not the longest track, but pretty difficult for most of the drivers.
Well, it has a couple of very technical sections. All of the corners are quite tricky to master, but especially well, at least for me, the last half of the lap is where it kicks in.
I think all of the turns have their slight quirks, and if you just look at a map of the track, it looks much easier than it actually is to drive, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is the part that we enter. So starting with a hairpin, you go downhill and turn into a right hairpin. Then you go uphill and then go downhill again into the revolver corner, which is really tricky to hit the apex. It has a slightly earlier turn in than one would expect. And off the Piper corner.
I was going to say a little bit wide.
Oh, yeah.
Touching the grass. Shard disconnects. That's race over for him. Sendersky still leading in MX5 overall, if you can call it that.
Ian Nims just set the fastest lap time of this race so far, 1 minute 35.9. Talianos, he's kind of back on pace, 1 minute 36.1. Matas Mendeles is much slower, and he's already 6 seconds behind Nims and 4 seconds behind Talianos. Sitting quite comfortable in P3 in the GT4 overall class, as Nikanen lost a little bit of ground to Doutartas, as we see Shire being disconnected of this race, leaving Lapo in P4 in the Pro M GT4 class.
Shire was in the MX5 AM class.
Oh,
so
yep, exactly.
But that only leaves us with 3 MX5 AMs. For Barbakov, I believe second place is still enough to guarantee himself the championship if he hasn't done so already. Nims still at the top, and 2.6 ahead of Italianos, who's picked up the pace at least a little bit. Wonder if that is part of strategy, or if it's just a struggle to keep up with the dominant driver of this championship.
Very consistent lap times from Jan Nims, not so consistent lap times from Talianos. As we slowly approach the slower cars on this racetrack, there's not many of them, but this circuit, it might be challenging with the overtakes unless you gain on the slower cars down these straights. A couple of longer straights followed from turn 4 and turn 11. That would be a very nice moment for the GT4 drivers and for the MX5 drivers to meet on. As we see, one car is slightly off the back, that's Stromke in an MX5 car, but then the remaining cars, they are a little bit closer together, meaning that there might be issues while doing the overtaking part in this race. As Jan Nims approaches Tromke, and I think he'll be right on his tail by at least the middle of the next lap, maybe even sooner. They meet here on the slower portion of the racetrack, and Jan Nims should already see the MX5 in his way. So we took roughly 13 to 14 minutes as we started to do the multi-class part racing.
Yep, pretty consistent with what we've had so far this season. Not much of a surprise. As the leaders approach a smaller MX5 field than they've been used to.
No problems for Nims here. I think he caught up on a very forgiving part of the racetrack, and he shouldn't have lost too much time. As
Italiano's quicker last lap. I think first one of the race where he has been quicker. Good for Italianos. Wonder if maybe a little bit more tire wear just because of the weight. Mendeles still losing time. And I'm not sure if he will get any closer at any point in this race. He's clear of Spawn, though, so it looks like a pretty lonely run in P3, and there wouldn't be a change anyway, because that's the third place car in Pro Plus Mendelis, and there's no Pro Plus cars behind him.
Oh, and he's the driver who has been caught up in the traffic a little bit more worse than the other cars, and still has...
But doesn't really need to rush anything here. He's kind of in no man's land, so for him, it's all about survival. Just get this thing to the end and, well, see what happens.
Yep, Spawn in 4th place, also a driver with a very heavy car here on this grid, 45 kilograms, exact match of the weight that Jan Nimtz is carrying around this racetrack. Because even though he also drives the GT4 car, that's from a different category. Stelianos, did he just set the fastest first sector? Maybe these are some quirks of the system. Though he was again faster on the previous lap time than his main rival, so the gap started to decrease slightly, but as we have greeted a little bit more of the MX-5 traffic, I think it's gonna be a little bit different this time, and look how much Talianos has lost here on this slower portion of the racetrack. The gap was 2.1 seconds, it's now 2.8 seconds, so it looks like the MX-5 field has currently played into the hands of Jan Nimtz. We still have a couple of cars in front of the GT4 car leaders to be overtaken. 136.5 versus 137.2, so Talianos lost here a little bit more than Jan Nimtz. Yes, Matas Mendel is the lonely driver. Let's stick up with Jan Nimtz. I think he gained on Barbakov now, so only 2 cars remain for Jan Nimtz to clear out of the way, and that's going to be part 1 of the multi-class racing completed for the GT4 class leaders.
Yep, halfway done, almost. And nice to see Tamiano still kind of sticking with the race leader. Lost a little bit of time last lap. See if he can regain some of it back this one, but that probably was more in terms of traffic, that time loss. So not the end of the world. But again, I think for Tanianos, if he's not planning to skip the pit stop, this will be a difficult run to the end.
Looking at the pace of Talianos, I don't think he will skip the pit stop. Well, he seemed slower at a couple of laps in the beginning, not in the at the very beginning, but roughly laps 4 to 7. We thought that he might be on a fuel-saving strategy, but then he put in a couple of very fast laps, and then the traffic came. During this lap, looks like Talianos was a little bit more in the luck, because he gained on Jan Nimtz, so the 7/10ths that he lost on the previous lap were regained during this lap, and he's now back at 2.2 seconds behind Talianos. Mendel is having a little bit of fun with the traffic. Spon also on a game on his own, though Tartas still in front of Nikanen. The gap between these two drivers is still roughly 1.5 seconds, though Nikanen lost a little bit of time here with the traffic. And he will need to find something here during this race if he wants to be on the stronger side in the battle for second position in the championship. Spawn is already 12 points ahead of Nikkanen. Well, actually, Nikkanen has quite good chances here, but he needs to finish in front of Spawn this afternoon, so he needs to figure out something to try and overtake Spawn and Dautartas. Dautartas has the lightest car here, by the way, from the 3 GT4M cars that are leading the championship. So Spawn has 45 kilograms, Nikkanen has 35, and Dautartas has only 15 kilograms. So Dautartas has a 30 kilograms lighter car in comparison to the current race leader, but he still is unable to keep up with the pace of the Pro-Am GT4 car class leader at this moment. Maybe he is on a different strategy here.
Yep, could be. I mean, difficult to say. Sometimes Jan Nims goes so quickly that you might think he's on a different. You might think others are on a different strategy, but actually, same strategy. Just incredible speed from Nims. Mendel is still losing time. Losing quite a lot of time at it as well. Maybe a little bit of traffic last lap. He approached the traffic later. Sendersky doing well at the top of the MX-5s. Has about a 3-second lead ahead of Ramach. And over 10 seconds ahead of his nearest class rival. So good start of the race for him. Nims crosses the line, starts lap number 14. 24 minutes to go. Italiano's keeping pace this lap. So maybe a little bit less consistent than Jan Nims.
Matas Mendel has just put in his personal fastest lap time of this race so far. He was still 3/10 of both of the leading cars on the previous time. And he's already 9 seconds behind Italianos and 11 seconds behind Jan Nims. As Markaitis goes into the pit lane in the MX-5M class. Sendersky still stays on the track and is in a very strong lead. I think he's in a little bit better position than Jan Nims currently is. No, actually Ramach, even though he's in another class here in this race, he's only 1.7 seconds behind Sendersky, though Ramach has the lightest car out of all the drivers here this afternoon. 0 kilograms of ballast on his car, and this is the only car that has no ballast to the overall weight. Simply because I think he did not start any of the races in this season so far. Correct me if I am mistaken.
Which car? Ramach?
Yep, car number 9 in this race.
Have a look. Nope. I don't see him having started the race. So, yep. Guess didn't do any races.
So rookie of the championship. And already showing some incredible pace here. Of course, the lighter car helps, but we see nice examples that the drivers with heavier cars still have very good pace. So the ballast is still not the most decisive part of the race for the drivers. It's still the skills of the drivers that help them win or finish in higher places overall. It just takes practice and a lot of laps.
What's good for the MX-5s is obviously a fixed setup for them. So more about the driver than the car. And can't really gain anything on car setup. which is, I'd say, a plus, especially in a, say, more amateur class. You can't have a pro driver run in the MX-5s. Sure, the drivers are happy that they're able to showcase their skills instead of the skills of their car. As we continue on with this race, we've kind of lost any real battles out on track.
Well, a smaller grid, not a lot of action here on the racetrack, just everyone doing the best job that they can. Dautartas and Nikanen in some sort of a battle, maybe building up, though Dautartas is performing a little bit better here this afternoon so far. Nims and Italianos. There might be something on the table. Ramach with the lightest car. Oh, he's again 3 seconds behind Sendersky. Barbukov not matching the pace of Ramach in this race also, but Barbukov has a 30 kilograms heavier car. So does Sendersky. This is the maximum that you can have on a MX-5 car in this championship. So Barbukov has a slight edge on the weight. Maybe a little bit... he can be a little bit more aggressive on the tires. Doesn't need to save them too much. That gives him a slight advantage, but still. The gaps are not too big. You couldn't say it's already over. You can see how Barbukov is sliding around the corners and abusing the tires. He has the ability to do that, though it's still mistakes rather than going faster around the racetrack. And one should try and avoid driving sideways on this racetrack. Stalianos puts in a 3/10 faster lap time. The gap still stays around 2.2 and 2.5 seconds between these drivers. Slightest mistake by Nimts could give the edge to Italianos here in this race, especially if the drivers are on a different strategy. Well, it doesn't look that they are on a different strategy, but you never know until you can find that out. Sendersky and Ramach, the MX-5 drivers, have a visit into the pit lane. Barbukov stays out at least for one more lap here in the MX-5 class, taking the lead of the class. And this is the moment where things can change. After the pit stops, well, we've seen some situations where one drivers kind of managed to be a little bit quicker during the time they spent in the pit lane than the others, and thus receiving an advantage. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one will end. The wave of pit stops. Kudirka goes up into P2 because he's also staying on the tracks at least for now. All the MX-5 cars will need to go into the pit lane. And the delta of a pit stop on this track is roughly 16 seconds.
Quite a small delta. I guess for the GT4s you need to fuel less. I think for the MX-5s it might just be a little bit longer. Just because they have more fuel to put in, there isn't an option in MX-5 to run the whole race.
Yeah, definitely.
Saving.
It's maybe, looking at the gap, it should be roughly 20 to 22 seconds. Because Sendersky is 16 seconds behind Barbukov now, and he was roughly 5 seconds behind. Well, Barbukov was 5 seconds behind Sendersky. So, well, if the delta is 20 to 22 seconds, the gap should remain similar if the pit stop will be of a similar length. Look at Ramach. Well, he lost a lot of time here in the pit lane. He's now 10 seconds behind Sendersky. Both cars were separated by roughly 2.5, well, maybe 3 seconds before the pit stop. It's now 9.8 seconds. So Ramach definitely lost a little bit of time. Maybe that's because it is his first race in this championship, and, well, he still doesn't have the experience or knowledge of maybe he put in a little bit more fuel in. Maybe the other drivers stay on the same set of tires, and maybe that's what Ramach did do differently here. But anyways, he lost time here in this pit lane during this pit stop.
Yep, lost some time. Could just be more conservative. Could be slower in, slower out.
That's 7 seconds. But yeah, of course, that can create different lengths in the pit lane. Maybe he slowed down way too early.
I mean, if it could all add up, right? If he could lose 2 seconds on the entry, for example, and then lose another 5 by fueling up too much, that's always a possibility. As that's Kudirka down into pit lane.
Barbukov also. Oh, that's... Yep, Barbukov and Kudirka into the pit lane. Barbukov already on the go. So let's have a look at how this one will end up. Barbukov already moving.
Clearly ahead.
Oh, yep, he's already around turn 1. So yep. Ramach definitely lost quite a lot of time here in this pit lane, and Barbukov, I think he spent the shortest amount of time in the pit lane. He's now 3 seconds behind Sendersky. And before the pit stop, it was roughly a 5 seconds difference, as I think that's Nimtz going around Barbukov. Yep, so Talianos. He lost a little bit of time here, 3 seconds, but the pace is still so similar here. I think this is the most similar pace that Talianos has to Jan Nimtz throughout this whole season. Of course, Nimtz has a heavier car, well, and by 20 kilograms heavier car, so that definitely helps Talianos to stay as close to Jan Nimtz as possible, but still a little bit too far behind. No chance for a move to happen, and you wouldn't expect Jan Nimtz to stay too long in the pit lane. He's been here too long and done too many races to make mistakes in the pit lane, but, well, you never know. And Talianos needs to do the job that he's doing and just try to keep as close to Nimtz as possible before taking that pit stop, if the drivers will take any pit stops here. Lost a little bit of time in traffic, so 4 tenths lost to the race leader.
Yep. Just at 16 seconds as he gets stuck in some more traffic. Talianos lost a bit more time, but not a huge change. He's still kind of there, but you'd need a lot of luck to do something in the pit stop. He'd need to have a fantastic entry and could be difficult.
Did we have any of the GT4 cars take a pit stop? I think everyone still stay out with 11.5 minutes on the clock. We approach the final phase of the race, and we are yet to see the pit stops of the GT4 cars, if there will be any. But looking at the pace, I wouldn't say they are, well, they don't look to be saving fuel too much, though. The qualifying lap time of Jan Nims was 1 minute 35.4. The fastest lap time of Jan Nims was 1 minute 35.9. And he's now doing roughly 136.0, 136.2 lap times. Could it be an indication that everyone is on a slight fuel saving strategy?
Andianos, I can't see him being on a fuel save strategy here. I think he's too close in pace to Nims. And I would guess he'd have to be losing a little bit more. So maybe that could have been the plan for him. Because the pace of Mendelis, if he is fuel saving, I think Talianos could be a little bit faster, at least looking at qualifying. So could be. Could have been. Maybe a strategy to use. Well, we don't know, actually. Could be that it is the situation that Tamianos is fuel saving. We'll find out in about 9 minutes.
Yep, not too long till the drivers will cross the start and finish line, and we are yet to see the first pit stops of the GT4 class. The MX5s have completed their round of the pit stops. The GT4s, they are still staying on the track, as we are currently running lap 23 of this race so far. Very similar pace by both of the leaders, and it's switching from lap to lap who is faster between Nims and Talianos this whole race, with Nims being just slightly faster overall, extending the gap to 3.4 seconds. It's still nice to see Talianos hanging up so close to the tail of Jan Nims when making some mistakes. Or was it a approach into the hairpin corner by Talianos? It looked to me that he outbraked himself just a little bit and went a bit too deep into the corner. Doesn't hesitate to slide on the exits, as he proves that he can have a very similar pace of the champion-to-be of the Club versus Cup series here on the WorldSimSeries platform in the GT4 Pro Plus class. I think Nims he just needs to finish off this race. He doesn't need to win. He can finish last overall here today. He will still be third in the GT4 Pro Plus class, and that's going to be more than enough for Jan Nims to take that champion crown. That's all that he needs to do, but he wants to win with fashion and in style, as he always does here in the championships that he takes. I'd love to have a look at his achievements. You can go to the WorldSimSeries platform, find Jan Nims, the name of the heroic driver on the platform, and you can go and count his championship trophies. There are a lot of championship trophies on his profile, giving me a huge smile while looking at it. And still, he's only a pro-level driver regarding the licensing system, while Talianos and Mendelis, both of them are alien drivers on the WorldSimSeries platform.
Yeah, Nims doesn't do as many of those standard races, so a little bit lower ranked. Funny to see sometimes as well, but we all know the pace of Jan. 6.5 minutes to go in this one.
Still no pit stops for the GT4 class. This is exciting.
Yep, could be just pushing it to the very, very end. Maybe. I mean, if both of them can make it to the end, that would be incredible. But I think that might just be... I mean, if that does happen, that's, yeah, pretty incredible the pace they would be able to set. But I think they'll come in for a quick splash. If Mendelis doesn't, well, that actually might be a battle with Talianos, depending on how much time he will lose in the pits. I think Nims is clear just about.
Yep, if the pit delta is 16 seconds, he should still come out in front of Matas Mendelis, and very similar to Talianos. That could be tight if we have a different strategy here, which is still very hard to tell. Time is ticking out, 5 minutes, and still no staying out for Jan Nimtz and Talianos. Both cars continue their journey as we almost run out of time here.
Yep, almost at the end. 4 minutes 40 seconds to go. We heard a prediction of 29 laps for this race. Well, definitely close with fuel. I'm guessing it's a question of about a lap, maybe 2. So we'll see if anybody comes in at the end of this one.
No change
Maybe
in...
pushing it to the very, very end. That could be an option as well. For Italianos, it makes sense, even if he's not fuel saving, to go as long as possible and try to get the biggest gap he can ahead of Mendelis. Because if he falls back behind him, maybe Mendelis could hold on to that position. So this is the important thing for Talianos. Nims doesn't make that big of a difference for him, but I think still doesn't want to be at any risk in case of a no-stop Mendelis. We'll see if he decides to come in this lap. Nope. Stays out on track. And I think Talianos went into the pits.
Yep.
Despite how much time he's losing. Yep, so Talianos down into the pits. Now we gotta watch where is Mendelis.
Going sideways
he
a
drifts
bit.
out of the final turn. Flash of the lights as well. And where is Talianos? Is he moving?
He's
Not
still
yet.
stationary. And
He's still stationary, and here comes Mendelis down the front straightaway. Talianos coming out of the pits, and he just about holds on. 1.5 seconds the gap. Well, 1 even. But it won't be enough, and I don't think Mendelis has got the pace to catch back up. So clear for Talianos. It was smart. It was smart to wait that extra lap. I think maybe a lap would have been fine, would have been super close, definitely. But if it was 2 laps that Talianos came in earlier, this would have been a game. Well, it wouldn't have been game over, but he would have had the task of overtaking Mendelis. Not the easiest thing to do, that's for sure, if Mendelis wanted to hold on to that position. Nims, I guess we're expecting him at the end of this lap. 20 seconds, that gap behind. He'll be clear easily.
Yep, I think he's going into the pit lane, and that's going to be... the next lap is going to be the final lap of this race. If it depends on where the start and finish line is located at.
No, it's further down, so definitely it's going to be last lap of the race as Nims comes in and gets a splash of fuel. Shouldn't be any issue with Talianos, as I think Nims is moving Nope, maybe not moving yet, but yep, moving out, and out of the pits comes Jan Nims.
And the
Now
gap is very similar as it was.
Yeah, gap has stayed the same, maybe a 10th difference or so, but that could just be out lap in lap, different timing. So yeah, wouldn't have changed anything for either of them.
So all of the GT4s were GT4 cars were on a fuel-saving strategy, where Nims and Italianos were only two cars on the grid who didn't save the fuel. They didn't need a lot of fuel at the end. Nims needed only a very small splash of fuel in his fuel tank. Just to complete that one and final lap, as he approaches the end of this race, the fifth round of the Club vs. Cup Championship. Jan Nims, the only winner. He won everything that he could so far up until this race, and that's not gonna change anything this afternoon. He won all the qualifying sessions and all the races so far. I don't think you could imagine a better season whatsoever.
A worthy champion, that's for sure. No questions asked. As Nims comes out of the final turn, he's going to make it 5 out of 5 and takes the championship crown. Club versus Cup. That's taken by Jan Nims. Then comes Italianos, then comes Mendeles. Those two will battle it out in the final round of the championship. Spawn takes the win to extend his championship lead in the GT4 Pro AMs.
Yep, Doutartas finishes in front of Nikkanen, so he's gonna collect a little bit more points to Nikkanen in the championship. Lapo finishes fourth in the GT4 Pro AM class. Sendersky will take a very confident win here. Well, Barbukov is only 2.5 seconds behind, so he gained a little bit on Sendersky during the time of pit stops, and he's...
You really have to look at Ramach behind 12 seconds, because these are the M class drivers. Is Sendersky losing quite a lot of time? Could he be underfueled, because he's losing a lot of time here on the exits. But Sendersky is going to take the race win. MX5 overall and MX5 AM. That's going to vault him finally clear at the top of the standings. Barbukov now guarantees himself that MX5 Pro AM title. Sendersky, he moves ahead of Shire. They were on equal points. Sendersky ahead on countback. Now Sendersky moves to the top with just one race to go in exactly 2 weeks' time at Suzuka. Well, quite a race that is upcoming at Suzuka. Here it was more about strategy and keeping it clean. Jan Nims, as always, unstoppable at the front of the field, but Italianos will put up a decent fight here tonight. So it's Nims ahead of Italianos, ahead of Mendeles, Spawn, Doutartas, Nikkanen, Lapo in the GT4s, and MX5s, Sendersky, Barbukov, Ramach, Tarchani, Kudirka, and Markaitis down in 13th spot. Trumke and Trumke 14th. He was the last one to finish, and Shire retired after just a couple of laps in the race. So that is the checkered flag, and in exactly 2 weeks' time, we'll see you back here, and it will be the grand finale at Suzuka.
Yep, and in the meantime, join us next Saturday, I believe. What's the date for the special event? Is it?
Yes, next
12th of July.
Yeah, 12th of July. So that's next Saturday for the Aurum 1006 KM Esports event. It's half of the race distance, so 503 kilometers. And how many laps is that? 186 laps.
Yep.
Out on track. So that is coming up next Saturday, and you can still register for that event as well already have 2 divisions on WorldSimSeries, and actually 3 divisions.
We have
but,
75
these
teams
were more.
registered already. There are 3 classes in total that one can choose out from the cars. This is a very nice replica of the real historical race taking place in Lithuania, near the city of Palanga. If you're interested in in this kind of racing on a very old school track, on the public roads that are open for everyone that is in that part of the in that part of Lithuania, just go over to WorldSimSeries, take a look, register, and have some fun. And I think we end our broadcast this afternoon. So have a good evening and see you the next Saturday.